Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is the Diversity in Environmental Leadership and Science web event hosted by Ecology Plus. And Ecology Plus is an alliance of partners. We are very much working towards timely connections, bringing students, undergraduates, graduate students, and recent graduates together in a community and providing timely opportunities, kind of like this, right? So this is very short notice, but the applications are due pretty soon, so we wanted to make sure that people are informed. And so welcome, everyone. This is again a very informal session, so we want you all to feel very comfortable to ask questions, post things in chat, or share resources. This is all about fellowships, and we have representatives from 3 fellowship programs here today. Sometimes I wonder, well, so what's the difference between a fellowship, a scholarship, and some other programs, right? And to me, anyway, one of the key connectors among all these programs that I see is that it's not just a short duration, 1 week long type of activity. It's really fairly extensive, and we'll hear more about that as we go forward. So my name is Teresa Murad. I'm the Director of Education and Diversity Programs at ESA, and I'm also the Project Director for Ecology Plus. ESA is the lead partner for to help manage the project, and we are a pilot program, mostly based in the Washington, D.C. area, but for events like this, we love to have the whole world come. So without further ado, I'm going to actually have actually, before we do that, let me also say a few things. If you want to join the conversation, right? So you could just click on the reactions button and raise your hand so we can recognize you. And just a reminder to keep your mic muted until we call upon you. You are, again, welcome to post comments, and this event is being recorded. So actually, if at any time you feel uncomfortable with being recorded, you feel free to turn off your video. Okay, so as far as then, let's jump into the program. We have 3 guests today. Maria Johnson from the Ray Diversity Fellowship, Fred Abbott, ESA's very own Seeds Partnerships for Undergraduate Research SPUR Fellowship, and then Breanna Ondich, Society for Freshwater Science Emerge Fellowship. And I know that they all do other things as well, so they might also talk about some of the other programs that they do. But today we are going to focus primarily on the fellowships. So let me turn first to Maria to introduce the Ray Fellowships.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this wonderful panel with everyone. And so, like Teresa said, I am coming to you from the Ray Diversity Fellowship. My name is Maria Johnson. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the program coordinator with Ray. If you want to go to the next slide. Just to give you an overview of the Ray Fellowship Program, the purpose of the fellowship program is to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in conservation. And so what we're hoping to do is build career pathways into conservation, clean energy, climate justice, all of those sectors for recent graduates of color. And so this is applicable to recent graduates who just received their bachelor's degree. And right now that's the population that we're serving. So we're hoping to connect them with a national network of leaders in conservation, give them support, whether it's financial, emotional, professional support to grow and serve as leaders in the environmental field. And then on the other hand of it, we actually work with our host organizations who host the fellows, and we work with them to coach them on diversity, equity, and inclusion within their own organization, so that we are making sure that the fellows are going into a safe space. Thank you, Teresa. Really briefly, the story of Ray. Dr. Roger Arliner Young is who we named this program after in honor of her legacy. She's incredible. She is a scientist of zoology, biology, and marine biology, and she was the first Black woman to receive a doctorate degree in zoology. So we've honored her by naming this program after her and working to continue her legacy. We can go to the next slide. And very briefly, Ray Fellow applicants will come from a racial or ethnic background underrepresented in conservation and clean energy, and demonstrate commitment to the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They will be less than 1 year out of college, and this should say 2022, of course, but right now for the application cycle that just opened, anyone who has graduated from January 2021 or who will graduate by July or August 2022, it's pretty flexible, is eligible to apply this year. And we are really looking for people who haven't had a full-time job in conservation or clean energy. We actually really hope to provide an opportunity for people who just haven't had it yet, and have the ability to work in the US and commit to the entire fellowship, which is 2 years long. So it's a 1-year program with a 1-year renewal. And essentially everyone is renewed as long as they're having a positive experience. So that's a little bit about the RAY program. And of course, there's so much more, but I'm happy to answer any questions and pass it on to anyone else.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the SEEDS Partnership for Undergraduate Research Fellowships. Fred.
All right, good afternoon, folks. My name is Fred Abbott. I'm the Diversity Program Manager at the Ecological Society of America. And we have a really cool fellowship program that we call SPURS. It's a partnership. The mission of the SEEDS program is to diversify and advance the ecology professions through opportunities that stimulate and nurture the interest of underrepresented students to participate and to also lead in ecology fields, which is a huge part of our component of our program, is the leadership components. So SPUR, the fellowship being the highest award within the program. So the SPUR fellowship, like I mentioned, fellows are encouraged to be outstanding leaders in the future of the ESA and our society. The award supports undergraduate students in designing and conducting an ecological research project of interest. So SEEDS has established a partnership with field stations and mentors offering exciting summer opportunities that will be tailored to meet the interest and career objectives and growth of the student as a scientist. Our fellowship is very much intended for students who want to continue their career in the sciences, continue on applying for graduate school. So it's a fully funded 1.5 year mentored experience. Teresa, if you can come up with the new slide, sorry. So it includes a fully funded summer research experience for students to very much get like an RE or research experience for undergraduates over the summer. But what sets us apart from other fellowships is the fact that it is a full commitment for 1.5 years from the student, which involves all the other components that SEEDS has to offer at a national level. So the student gets to not only conduct their research with a mentor that is paid for throughout the summer experience, but also they get to participate and their expenses are covered to attend a SEEDS leadership meeting in which we talk about 21st century science skills, a SEEDS fieldship in which we get to explore unique ecosystems across the US, and also participate in a fully funded experience to present that research at a major science meeting, in this case, the ESA annual meeting every year in which our fellows present their final research projects, whether it be oral or postal presentation at ESA. So the cool thing about this experience is that every single step of the way is a mentored experience. You're never alone. We treat our SEED students very much like a family, so you're treated as part of a cohort. We only accept usually between 5 and 7 students a year, depending on the partnership. This summer, we're excited to be offering currently, just to give you a preview, you can check out our website, but we have opportunities seeking students in Colorado, New York, Michigan, and New Hampshire. Each of these projects is unique. And like I said, the students work very closely with their mentors to develop a research question that is of interest to them and the lab they'll be working at. And again, have that experience throughout participating and meeting students at a national level as well through the SEEDS program. We seek underrepresented students in science. It's part of the mission of the program. We want our students, again, the intent for this fellowship is for the student to develop their career throughout their graduate school. So students with strong interest in pursuing career, in pursuing graduate degrees, and of course, underrepresented minority, low-income, first-generation college students, veterans are strongly encouraged to apply for these opportunities. One cool thing that sets us apart from many other programs is that you can apply to up to 3 different partners with one simple application. So it's interesting and it's important for us to provide as many experiences as we can for these students. So with our application process, you can imagine apply to 3 different internships with just one simple application. We think that that's pretty cool, and it's incredibly important for us to provide that community. The deadline is March 10th. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Thank you. Okay, and next, Bree from SFS Emerge.
Hi, everybody. My name is Breanna Ondich. I go by Bree. I'm coming to you from the University of Georgia, which is where this grant operates out of, but we're with the Society for Freshwater Science. And that's a professional organization that's focused on freshwater research, management, and conservation. And we typically call it SFS. So if you hear me say SFS, that's what I'm talking about. So there's 2 programs to help increase diversity in the field of freshwater science. Back in 2011, the SFS established the InSTARS mentoring program, and this is for undergraduates. The goal is to invite undergrad students to experience the annual meeting that's held every year in May or June, and they're supported with lots of programming and also by some graduate student mentors. So InSTARS really laid the groundwork after being really successful for 10 years to build a new program that's called Emerge. And this program offers a new wide range of engagement opportunities. And the neat thing about it is that it extends for a full year, not just at the annual meeting. It launched in 2020. And I came on to help manage the program early 2021, and it's funded for 5 years by the National Science Foundation, and the Society for Freshwater Science continues to support it. Can go to the next slide. So these programs, like a lot of the other ones here, are specifically for people who come from historically underrepresented groups and who want to learn more about and participate in the field of freshwater science. So if you're an undergraduate student and you're just looking maybe to get your feet wet for a shorter period of time and make really good networking connections at the SFS annual meeting, you might be interested in applying for the InSTARS program. The SFS membership and the meeting registration are totally covered by the program, and there's also additional funding to offset the costs that might be associated with traveling to the meeting and staying at the hotel that we have. The InSTARS members come together for special workshops just for InSTARS and Emerge. We have a lot of the diversity socials and networking activities that are also open to InSTARS and Emerge fellows and the alumni of the program. So all of those activities for InSTARS take place during that big meeting week, again, which is usually May or early June. Now, Emerge participants join the InSTARS fellows for all of those activities I just mentioned, but it continues year round. And it's not only open to undergrad students, but uniquely it's open to grad students and early career scholars. So it kicks off every year right before the annual meeting with a multi-day river float where we're kind of camp along a river and do some overnight safety training for a few days right before the meeting at a nearby field site. Then we have opportunities to attend 2 major in-person skill building workshops throughout the year. One on using Program R and mining neon data, and another one on visual communication using Adobe Illustrator to learn graphic design skills. We do frequent online collaborations. We meet monthly, synchronously or asynchronously. We have recordings for folks who can't attend. And we also do some online community events in a really cool platform called GatherTown that's been working really well. So all the expenses associated with being an SFS member, the meeting registration, travel, lodging, and meals for all the in-person activities are totally covered by the grant from NSF for the Emerge program. And that's a lot of info. If you want to check out the QR code, that'll bring you to the website. And there's a little bit of info on that slide about how these programs are designed.
Great, thank you. I'll leave that slide up for a few more moments, but Maria was thinking, Fred and Bree actually went into a little bit more detail about what participants can expect from the fellowship. Would you like to add anything about what folks can expect from Ray?
Yes, Teresa, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. So Ray places our fellows at host organizations for 2 years. Like I said, 1 year with a 1-year renewal, but that almost always goes through. And so we place our fellows with nonprofit organizations, and we also have a pilot program with federal agencies. And it is anything from scientific research and data analysis and field work to like climate justice organizing and being community organizers. So we this year are anticipating 24 different job descriptions. And what fellows do is they apply for the program and then they choose their top 3 specific job descriptions that they'd like to apply for. And so they are then considered for those top 3. So the experience varies greatly depending on the job description that you specifically apply for.
I see. Interesting. Okay, so at this point, I think I would like to, open it up to see if people have questions. I'm not sure if there's any question on the chat. Let's see. Do host sites need to provide an in-person workplace, or are virtual hybrid workplaces also eligible? So I think that question is for you, Maria.
Yes, and I will have to double check about virtual workplaces. But I think I answered the rest of your question about selection, which is done in conjunction with Ray and the host organization.
Okay. If you have any questions, anybody, please raise your hand, or we'd be happy to have you verbalize your question.
Or if anybody has any questions regarding to like, how do we review our applicants? What are, what's a good application to each of these fellowships?
Well, why don't we go into that? So Fred, you want to start?
Sure. I set myself up for that one. So for us, it's important, right? Like in the case of the SPUR fellowship, we are seeking somebody that is definitely, in the ESA-oriented realm of academia, which is research, or it's a research fellowship. And so we're looking for students that are motivated to become part of the research community, but also to understand that we need to shift that research community in the future. So this is when we talk about like what we're looking in leadership potential for our students. So we're seeking students, of course, that are underrepresented in science. I think that's a common theme across the programs, well, to be honest, because ecology is very white. And so we have funding for programs like these to change that and hopefully have leadership in the future that represents more cultures and represents, well, humans as a global science, as they should be on the table. And so what we look for is students, again, with a strong research interest that understand the importance of diversity within their field, but also that are seeking to kind of push the boundaries of what, a research ecologist might look like. I think about 15 years ago when I was an undergraduate, it was very much about finding that data, whatever. And what we're looking now is students are using the data they collected in science, but seeing where it reaches out into other fields. We were just talking before the call about political sciences, social sciences, economics, business, and so forth. So these are the realms that we want our students to reach out to. And these are the projects that we'd be very interested in hosting, and to expose our students to those career paths as well, not just academia. Yeah, that's as far as what we're looking for at Seeds.
And Bree, how about for SFS? What do you look for?
Sure. So it's really going to depend on which career stage you're applying as. So for undergrads, grad students, and early career, there's a little bit of a different goal there. For undergrads, the main thing is you don't really need to have any research experience to come to this program. It's more of a training program. So, to be competitive in your application, really being willing to engage in the program and use all the resources we provide is really the main thing. For grad students, we do expect some sort of interest in freshwater aquatic science, somewhere along those lines. And then for our early career folks, we're looking for people who kind of already have that commitment for diversity and maybe an interest in a little bit higher interest in the peer-to-peer mentoring aspect. So one of the neat things, since we have all these different career stages, is we have folks learning from each other who are a little bit closer in their stage than maybe some of the steering committee members are that are a little bit older and more established professionals. So those are some of the things that we look for to make an outstanding application. But again, it's for people in historically underrepresented groups, and that includes people that are maybe first generation college students and things like that.
Okay. Do we have questions from participants?
There's a question posted on the chat about salaries for some of these fellowships, and I know that for some that's an important factor. We need to pay our participants. And so as far as seeds goes, as far as the SPUR fellowship goes, our partners take care of the stipend expenses for the summer research project. I would say they start at around $400 a week. That's the basis for most of these. Some of our partners go up to $580 a week. So it's around, I would say, 4,000 to 6,000, like stipend wise, for the summer portion. And then all the other expenses for participating in the fellowship are actually covered by us. So there is no cost to the student. All the field trips, leadership meeting, annual meeting expenses, everything is covered by seeds. So all in all, it's probably a $12,000 to $15,000 award per student. That's including research.
There's a question about housing as well. Whether we cover housing, or is it a straight salary? How would you respond?
For our partners, housing is covered. So these are research stations across the US, remote locations. So, you're in charge. I think there's a couple of our partners, like students, are in charge of providing their own, meals and stuff and prepping for the summer. And, but you have your own housing, you have your own space. You share that amongst other people at the station.
And Maria, I take it yours is I think you answered a $45,000 salary, basically, right? So that's a straight salary.
Yes, so our fellows get paid a minimum of $45,000 a year, and then they are also provided a relocation stipend of $3,000, and then they also receive $1,000 in professional development every year too.
Very nice package. How about Bree? Any relevance here for Emerge?
So our events are mostly virtual with the exception of the annual meeting and the workshops. And for those we fund 100%, like driving to the airport, parking, getting on the plane, all the food. We do group meals at field stations. Like, for example, we just went to Sevilleta field station in New Mexico, and we're going to Kanza in just a few weeks in Kansas. So all of that, all the housing and everything's totally covered. And we don't at this time have any additional stipends for our fellows.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bree. Donovan, I see your hand up.
Yes, Ms. Teresa, can you hear me?
Yes.
I had a question for Maria about the Ray Fellowship.
Go ahead.
Well, Maria, I got my degree in geography and environmental studies, but my track is conservation and environmental management. So I applied for the at-risk species, fish and wildlife biologist position, the conservation diversity fellow, science and strategy position, and the conservation diversity fellow of natural resource specialist fellowship. And I had an interview a few weeks with a Maryland Sea Grant about an internship. And I already had my questions already prepped before my interview became close. And my most important question I found is, for me being a BA in geography and environmental studies, I'm policy or partially policy, but I have experience in marine biology and aquaculture. And I wanted to know, once our 2 years are almost at an end, will you all help us find a company? Well, for my situation, if I receive a position, would you all help me find a company that does partially policy and lab work? Because I like both, but I feel like me being versatile and having lab experiences, I like doing both. I just wouldn't want to be at a desk or in the library reading environmental policy books, even though doing that 100% of the time will increase my knowledge beyond my imagination. I love working in the lab too. So I was hoping to find a position where I could do both. And from feedback from conferences and other people, I was told they're available, but I heard they're very difficult to get or find.
Okay, wow, that's a very
I'm sorry,
packed
Mr.
question. Wonderful.
That's
Maria.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for applying, Donovan. We're very excited to see your application. In regards to placement after fellowships, it is very common for fellows to be placed at the organizations that they're hosted at. So that is an opportunity that presents itself often. In regards to helping you find placement after the fellowship, we we will absolutely help you find a permanent and full-time job after. We hope that also just like connecting you to the national network of leaders in conservation will help with that. And also the mentors that you have throughout the fellowship. So there's a lot of support for you to try to find like a job placement after.
Yes, I understand. That's just a real like emotional topic, because some places I know they don't help you find, or there's nothing guaranteed, which probably is the same. But it sounds like you guys are a little more hands-on with helping us find our way when the time comes. And I really would appreciate that.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Thank you, Donovan. And I see Christian's hand up.
Yeah, so thank you all for coming to speak with us. I'm Christian. I'm a junior at Swarthmore College studying engineering and environmental studies. My focus is on energy, particularly building systems, but more recently I've become very interested in ethnobotany and permaculture. So I am at a very interesting place where there's very technical studies in engineering, but also some new ecology studies that I'm being exposed to. That being said, my question for all of you is, this is an emphasis on diversity, and I'm curious, like coming into this work where there will be many people of marginalized identities, how is space held for difficult conversations of emotional labor? How are members involved with the program trained to have conversations and work with students of or like people of marginalized identities, and what support systems might be available? Because I think that is really crucial, that there's recognized ways to address conflict, and that people's space is respected in that sense.
Very important questions, and I think we would love all three panelists to discuss it. Who would like to go first?
I can go first. I'm really proud of what the RAY program does with this, so I would love to jump in. It's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it, Christian. Like I said, we have RAY Fellowship Program coordinators, and then we also have RAY Program Partnership coordinators and managers. And the partnership side is really important because they are the ones who are actually doing monthly calls with the hosting organizations, coaching them on what it means to have a diverse and equitable and inclusive workspace. And so they're doing basically like DEI consulting work with these organizations every month. We also we are very proud to be at the point where we can handpick what hosting organizations we choose to partner with. So they go through a rigorous interview process where we ask them about if they have like what their work culture is like, and if they have people who can provide that sort of emotional support, which it is. It's emotional work. And then in addition to that, we also pair up all of our fellows with 3 different mentors throughout their fellowships, and all of them are based on what the fellows specifically would like or need. So if they really, really want their mentor to hold the same identity as them, then we pair them up with someone who does. And then in addition to that, all of the program coordinators with RAY meet with the fellows once a month, and we hold space to talk about, like, if you're being microaggressed at work, like, let's create a plan and like, let's talk about it. And we have monthly cohort calls to share that space with the entire cohort. So it's a really good question, and I hope I answered that.
Great, thanks. Marie, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure, I can. So we have a steering committee that's made up of 6 total people, and we also have an advisory board, and all of these people are they either come from a underrepresented minority group, but most importantly, they have a huge commitment to this sort of topic. And a lot of us are also trained, like, for example, I can just speak on my behalf in this case. I go to like every single training. I have trainings from 2 institutions on like diversity, equity, inclusion, and I try to go to as many professional development opportunities as possible to become more and more aware. I feel like there's always more space to learn how to deal with these situations. We have really close conversations with all of our fellows. We're not really in a working relationship, but during our workshops and things like that, and we learn from what they want out of the program, and we adapt. We're still in our first year, so we've learned a ton this year about how to make things better for the next year. And we also are partnered with an evaluation company to evaluate our program, and the fellows have been giving really honest feedback through that platform. It's all de-identified data, but we have a lot of insight into what's working and what's not working to improve those spaces.
Great, thank you. Fred?
So I think it's pretty evident that, diversity is a huge impact on all of these programs. And we all understand as staff of these programs that establishing a safe space for our students to participate, it takes one really bad experience for the student to be soured into a field or a career. So imagine having to provide the necessities for a remote location for a student to spend an entire summer in a place that they've most likely never visited before, work in very small teams, are very inexperienced with the research that they're going through. There's a lot that goes into planning for these summer's experiences for this fellowship. So I echo my colleagues. We talk with our mentors one-on-one. What is the goal for the summer? How can we best serve the student? Pay attention to the student's behavior. If anything comes up, we should address it right away, not wait. I've personally had bad experiences with internships and fellowships before. So I know what works and what doesn't from previous experience. I've learned firsthand throughout the job of doing this now for 10 years. So these are conversations that your program coordinators do have and do care about a lot to provide an excellent experience, right? At the end of the day, we want our students to thrive. We want our students to come back from that experience saying, wow, I want to do that for the rest of my life. Like this is what I want to be a part of. I want to be part of the transformation of this science and of this career path. And so we do care a lot about that, and a lot of conversations happen in the back end, and a lot of lessons learned through experiences and from our colleagues as well, and trying for us to mitigate that as much as possible, again, for an extremely positive outcome for our students.
Thank you. Great. So meanwhile, those who have more questions, please feel free to raise your hand. I do see one in the chat from Andrew regarding SFS. So as a graduate student doing a purely research MS in water resource, so he's preparing the application for the Emerge conference and wondering whether it's okay for him to apply because he doesn't actually have results yet. So how would you respond to that, Bree?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely apply. And if you're asking more about kind of what career stage, if you're in a graduate program, you're considered a graduate student. If you're in that transition space, we want you to apply as well. So maybe you're an undergrad, if say, for example, if another one has this question, if you're an undergrad and you aren't quite in a grad program, but you're planning to be, you can apply for whatever career stage best describes you. So if you're really sure within the next year or so you're going to be in grad school, you can apply as a grad student. If you're out of undergrad or grad school and you're working professionally, you can be considered early career. But yeah, you don't have to have any research results to apply for Emerge. So we're a training program as well. So if you're enrolled as a student, you are eligible.
Great. Now I see a question from Lisa about the SEEDS program, whether it will extend to graduate students, but I think I also want to open that question to Maria, because I think right now it says very clearly on the website, we're not accepting graduate students right now. So what's the vision? Where are we going, into the future with these two programs for the SPUR fellowship and the Ray fellowship?
It's a really good question. Currently, we are not accepting graduate students, and to be honest, this is my 6th week in the job, so I can't really speak to what a long-term vision looks like for Ray. So we'll have to come back to that, but it would be amazing to eventually accept graduate students.
Okay, fair enough, Maria. So you have never accepted graduate students, always been recent grads. Cool.
Exactly.
Thank you. Fred.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cheat, Teresa, because you and I have these conversations all the time. If you're not from it, Teresa's my boss. So we do constantly think about what the future of our program is. We find ourselves in the unique position of running a program for 25 years, which is huge. Within SEEDS, within ESA, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. That's a long time to think about how to change diversity within the science fields. And the program has evolved a lot throughout the years, and we pride ourselves in continuing that evolution and offering new things. We started as a faculty program who then roped in students and became a student program. And now we create a community amongst our students that they miss once they continue on that career path into graduate school. And the higher they climb the academic totem pole, the lonelier it gets, the more tokenism it starts to feel for those students. And so we know our community has been asking to create graduate workshops for our SEED students. So we do offer them. We partner up. Again, we're very much an undergraduate program. But we always seeking partners and offering new things. And of course, the big deals now are in statistics and, big data management, remote data sensing, working with Neon and like GRS and like the things that I didn't have to learn when I was an undergraduate. But now I'm pushing all my undergraduates to learn themselves before they continue on into graduate school. So we constantly are looking for ways to better serve that community. And so we started during the pandemic, which wasn't ideal. Offering 2 virtual graduate workshops, but the idea is to continue that tradition and continue to offer that sense of family and that sense of community for our participants throughout their careers. So it won't just be for graduate school, or hopefully it'll be, early careers. And, we do have the fortune that we have an organization such as ESA that we can base our events at the annual meeting and have access to a bunch of members that are willing to help us out. Some of them are right here on the call. So we're excited about that.
Well, so I can say that as director of the SEEDS program, which I didn't reveal earlier, I'm totally up for, expanding the program. And, I guess it's a question of resources and capacity. And, if we can manage it, hey, I'm going there, why not, right? So, and I think the other answer I will give you is actually that's part of the reason why Ecology Plus was created, because we do realize that, it's not enough to just think about the undergraduate career stage, because undergraduate students do graduate, they do move on, and then what do we do for them, right? And so Ecology Plus is a bit of an extension of SEEDS, and also more than just SEEDS. So we'll see where we go with that. Right now, it's kind of set up as a with one-to-one mentoring component year round, plus that's mostly done virtually, but we also have a local component, where we can bring a cohort together locally, regularly. So, and we do events like this. So this is one of those things that I think all of us are trying to figure out. There's just so much that needs to be done. And frankly, there's also a lot of programs out there that are just not connected, right? I think somebody asked early on, how do I find out about these? How are these programs promoted? And sometimes, it's really hard to get word out there. And even when we do, people don't hear about it. I mean, it'll be, Fred mentioned that SEEDS has been around for 25 years. And, we are very noisy at the ESA meeting, but you will be amazed how many people still do not know that SEEDS even existed. So, after 25 years, right? And forget about promoting, but even being there, it's like we are sometimes invisible. So there's a lot of work basically that we have to do. And I'm really excited that, we have more and more people in this, doing this work and collaborating together. So yeah, this is all good stuff.
Teresa, there's a question posted in the chat just now by Andrew, which I think is important because we sometimes talk about international students and a lot of these programs being NSF funded, only open for US citizens. So I can address the answer to the question as far as the fellowship, but it's actually intended for freshwater sciences.
Yeah, so I can answer that. We do accept international students. The only caveat is because it is NSF funded, we can only fund travel within the United States. So if you are in the United States, any travel from point to point, including, territories as well, like Puerto Rico, we can cover. Getting to the United States is something we cannot cover with the funding, but yeah, if you're international, you're definitely eligible, even if you're not a citizen, to apply for the program.
Maria, would you like to address that for your program?
Yes, thank you so much. So our applicants are not required to be U.S. citizens, and we have had several non-citizens become Ray Fellows. They just must be able to work in the U.S., so that can be through like a visa or DACA or permanent residency, but we do accept non-citizens.
Excellent.
So,
Right.
and I'll echo Maria. We also accept non-citizens. Students, the only requirement to participate in CEAS is they're currently enrolled in a U.S. accredited institution. So as long as they have student visas that they, can participate and travel within the United States, we have no problem in sponsoring that student. Although there are some partners, again, because our fellowship is a partnership with other sources of funding. Some of our partners, there's one specifically that does require our students to be U.S. citizens. And some of them might have other requirements. I think there's one of our partners has a minimum GPA requirement, which is something that we're trying to get rid of. I know that my colleagues and I, we constantly talk about how can we remove these barriers and make these applications a lot more inclusive and easier for our students. We do know that the number one reason why students don't apply is because they don't think they'll get it. And that is a horrible statement. So the easier we make these application processes, the more engaging we make these conversations, the better it is for us and the better we can serve our community. So thank you for all those questions.
Now, there's a question about establishing international chapters, though, one particularly Africa. And I will say, actually, and Brea, I'll turn to you in a moment, but ESA does have like a Latin American chapter, for instance. So these chapters for societies are typically initiated by the members themselves. So in other words, if you are in a situation where you can actually bring people together, I think we require a minimum of 50 to start. Then I think, there's no reason why we couldn't do a chapter in Africa somewhere, so at least for ESA. But it has to be driven by the membership, not staff driven, right? It's really a grassroots kind of a thing, and they have their own, autonomy as well to organize that themselves. But of course, we can lend some support as well. But but generally the answer is basically yes. So that it's possible to have chapters in whether it's, and we even have chapters in domestic regions in the US. So, and one in the Caribbean, Latin America, Mexico. I think that's what, I can't remember what the full name of it is, but yeah. So we do have one at least. Bray, how about you in SFS? Do you have chapters?
I am aware of several chapters, but I will admit I am a sea turtle biologist, recently dabbling in freshwater science. So I'm still learning and I haven't been to a meeting yet. So
maybe we should turn this question over to Checo.
Yeah, I think
also
there
from SFS.
Someone from the previous board of directors here who can maybe chime in.
Yeah.
Hi, Teresa and Bree, and good to see you. Good to see Fred and Maria. Yes, we do have several chapters in the SFS, and I think Andrew is familiar. We do have a brand new Africa chapter. We also have a Latin American chapter. And aside from these great opportunities that are available through programs like InStars and Emerge in the SFS, there are also endowment funds that are there to provide opportunities for students, and some of them particularly targeted towards international students. And there are particular awards that we often have limited number of applicants in terms of trying to disperse this funds to international students to come to the meeting, especially this year in aquatic science, which will be a good opportunity because it's a joint aquatic meeting with multiple societies through the Consortium of Aquatic Scientific Societies. So Andrew, if you haven't had a chance to visit the website and look for endowment awards as well from the SFS, happy to talk to you more about them and talk to you about opportunities in these chapters who do provide funds for students that are members of the chapters as well. And there are some that are regional within the US. We have a very active California chapter. an active Pacific Northwest chapter. And I think here, I think we're getting ready to start a Southeastern US chapter. So definitely, yeah, the chapters are another great avenue for providing support to students and, professionals as well. And I'm enjoying I'm just as an audience member, I'm enjoying all these conversations and hearing more about the programs.
Thank you so much, Chico. So Fred, actually, why don't you talk a little bit about the SEEDS chapter setup as well? I think that might be interesting. Mhm.
So yeah, a little bit of history. We started, so the whole program, the whole portion of SEEDS started because our ESA members looked at each other and realized that they were all old white men. Let's be honest, very little women representation in science back then. Talk about late 80s, early 90s. And so a big report came out. It was known as WWAMI. It was the Women and Minority in Sciences report that kind of transformed the way we look at diversity in sciences. And that report came out in 1993. That led to the establishment of a SEEDS program in 1996 to teach faculty how to teach ecology at minority serving institutions. In this case, we started at 8 HBCUs originally. So we created a sense of community amongst those HBCUs. So these are student-run organizations for students, by our students, with the help and mentoring of a faculty member. And we have since broadened that to include any US institution that would like to create a SEEDS chapter. So we're not at 119 institutions where we have these on-campus student-run organizations like, your green clubs and your, but they're part of SEEDS clubs. So there are ecology clubs and recycling clubs and gardening clubs. And, with the goal of developing activities around exposing the students, the memberships, to ecology, to the science of ecology. And we provide support through that with a chapter coordinator that we organized monthly activities now for our SEEDS chapters to participate, to be part of. We're celebrating Black History Month next Wednesday. Activities in which we organize, regional field trips for our students from certain areas within, the same region to organize, events in person. Or virtually, which is what we've been doing for the past 2 years. But the idea is to have this network of, on-campus organizations that we directly recruit our students from for our experiences. We target our recruitment. We don't just post our opportunities everywhere and everywhere for everyone to apply. We seek those institutions that have our minority serving institutions, that are HBCUs, Indigenous serving institutions, and we're seeking those applicants directly from them through developing the relationship with those students and providing them on-campus activities for them. So it's a big deal. It's a lot, as you can imagine, dealing with 119 different institutions, which each of them with unique schedules and agendas and leadership styles and so forth. But it keeps us really busy, but also, again, keeps us relevant within our community, keeps that sense of sharing and safe space and the sense of family that we like to provide in SEEDS.
Thank you. Any other questions? Feel free, or comments, thoughts?
Teresa, I would like to add something else quickly, since we do talk about international students and so forth. So we talked about societies and the roles of professional societies, which are incredibly important amongst our professions. But same as ESA, same as water sciences, we are talking about expanding and bringing more people into our communities. ESA is seeking people outside of academia. And so we do have travel awards. Our annual meeting is going to go into a hybrid format. If the pandemic has showed us anything is, where virtual meetings can be more inclusive than any of the other meetings that we can host in person. The barriers of hosting, and traveling to an in-person meeting can be incredibly hard. And so providing travel awards and virtual experiences for our members from anywhere in the world is pretty important. So if you have colleagues that would like to learn more about, our travel awards and so forth, feel free for them to reach out to us. We do provide participation awards for students and members to be able to participate in these events virtually.
Great.
In hybrid format.
Thank you. Thank you for that plug for professional society meetings. Okay, Stephen, I see your hand up. Please feel free to voice your question. Stephen?
Yes, good evening. Good evening. How are you?
Good, good.
Good evening or good afternoon over there. Are you there? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah, we
you.
can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know if you can
Yes,
hear us.
Sounds
yes.
like you can't
I
hear
just
us.
want to have. I just finished my PhD program. Yes, I just finished my PhD history management. Can you hear me?
Sorry, you're cutting off.
Yeah, I think we might have some connectivity issues.
Even, yeah.
I said I just finished my PhD program, and I don't know if there is opportunity for postdoc.
Opportunities for postdocs as far
Postdocs,
as
yeah,
the fellowship.
Okay.
Bree, you want to take that one? I think of all our programs, yours might be the only one that might have something. So
Yes, so we have an early career category, and that's open. We loosely define early career as someone within 5 years of their most recent degree, and that would include if you're in a postdoc position. So if you're in that position or planning to do a postdoc, you are eligible as an early career applicant for the Emerge program.
okay. Hopefully that helps, Stephen. And I think also as far as postdocs, I don't know that these fellowships, you know, there are probably others, right? There are other fellowships for postdocs out there. So actually, I would like to encourage everybody to sign up for our Ecology Plus bulletin. Jesse, I see you're on here. What can you maybe I don't know if you're still there, but if you would like to say a little bit about the bulletin, if you're here.
Yeah, sure. So I send out a weekly bulletin where I compile a bunch of opportunities ranging from undergraduate, graduate, early career, and postdoc opportunities. So I can drop that link in the chat where you can sign up and you can look up for some postdoc opportunities that I'll post.
Great question. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and I would like to invite our panelists. You know, what's one thing that you would like, you know, people to walk away from this webinar with? What's one thought about your program that you want people to make sure to bear in mind? Who would like to go first?
I can jump in really quick. I think one of the things that Fred mentioned earlier really resonated, which is that a lot of people don't apply for these programs because they think that it's just impossible for them to get it. And those are the exact people who we want to apply for these programs. Those are the people that need to apply for these programs. And so I really, really welcome that. And the thing about the Ray Fellowship in particular is that we are looking for people who haven't had professional experience. We specifically prioritize people who haven't had a full-time job, a full-time permanent job that doesn't include other fellowships or internships and things of that sort. And really the most important thing for applicants is that they have transformational potential, so that they're open and willing to learn about diversity, equity, and inclusion in conservation, and really engage with the program and the materials. So I really, really welcome everyone to apply.
Thanks, Maria. Fred?
Yeah, I'll echo what Maria said. The fact that, you know, students are afraid of these application processes, yet, you know, we design these programs to directly, literally serve the students that are most underrepresented in our science. And yeah, no previous research experience required and so forth for these fellowship, yet students, you know, for some reason are very afraid of taking that step. I always tell students, like, you know, the worst response that you could ever get from a program like ours is just a thank you for applying and now. And then you practice that application and you continue to apply for more and more experiences. That is not a unique message that students end up receiving, you know, the fear of saying no. You know, that experience of practicing and writing those essays, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I was a very unique student when it came to that, because I had a mentor that would force me to apply for these experiences as an undergraduate. And that is right, that's unheard of. Like, how can you force a student? If I wanted to work in his lab, I had to apply to multiple experiences every semester. Well, luckily, at least once of them, I would get them. I would be denied by many. But, you know, because I applied to pretty much everything, you know, you would get those experiences. And like I said, that is not a unique perspective, but at the same time, I never had that fear. That wasn't like, it wasn't brought into me of, you know, oh, you know, I can't say no. So we seek those students that, you know, are fearful. If I were to tell you what my perfect student would look like, would be really low GPA early on in their career as an undergraduate, where I can, you know, the experience of participating with Seeds transforms, and Maria mentioned that word, it's incredibly important, but it transforms their perspective and like motivates them to be part of that community. And I can tell you that I've had students with less than 2.0 GPAs and undergraduates, and they're now faculty at institutions across the US. Those are the success stories. The students that otherwise wouldn't have had that opportunity in any other program because of minimum GPA requirements or minimum, you know, coursework requirements and so forth for those students to participate. So we need to remove those barriers. We need to be, you know, we need to do better at that.
Apply, and
Apply. Exactly.
Bree.
That's definitely the message I was going to send too. But on top of that, if you are an alum of InStars or Emerge, you can apply again. And actually the program's designed for repeat participation. We're looking to have some people reapply, maybe serve up to 3 years in the program. So that's something, if you've already done it, or maybe you start with InStars, maybe you're an undergrad and you just not sure if you have the time or interested in committing for a full year, that's fine. You can check out the meeting and go to InStars. You don't have to be presenting at the meeting to apply for this. And then you could come back as an Emerge Fellow and another year. So as you move through your stages too with Emerge, undergrad, grad, early career, you're going to get something different out of it. So I would encourage people definitely to apply and reapply for additional funding.
That's an interesting idea. Apply and reapply. That's very nice. And so let me end this webinar by sharing upcoming events. So we have 2 more coming up this month. Next week, we're celebrating Black History Month with a Black Students in Science event where 3 students participating in the Ecology Plus program will actually be sharing their own science, their own research, and their own science journey. So, you know, come out and support them. And, you know, I think they all do different things. So it'll be really quite interesting. And one is a recent graduate, another one is a master's student, and then the third one is a PhD student. So you're going to hear different stories there. So please come out and support them. And then on February 24th, there's a career panel. So if you're interested in careers in environmental policy or advocacy or law, what is the difference anyway? Well, come out and find out. And, you know, we would love to have you sign up for these events. So I think, oh, I see a hand up. Okay, Donovan, you have 1 minute.
Yes, my question is for Maria. When I was on the Ray Fellowship, revising my questions and everything, I went back on the webpage and I noticed the positions I applied for last year aren't on there anymore. But I saw a bulletin saying that the same positions were still available plus new ones.
Oh, interesting. The positions do vary every year. I'm not sure if we have repeat positions. Sometimes I'm sure that probably does happen. But we do have a lot of new positions coming, and there will be even more too. So feel free to look at those and stay updated through the website.
May I ask when will the new ones appear?
They'll be coming through on a rolling basis until February 28th.
All right. So would it be smart not to submit your application until February 28th? Because what if I submit, then I see another position I want to apply for? Or should I just submit twice? Like, how does that work?
I would recommend waiting, and the application deadline won't be until March 27th. And so I would recommend waiting and seeing all the descriptions, job descriptions that come up, and then choosing your top 3 from all of those.
Yes, but all of the available fellowship positions will be posted on the Ray website underneath the fellowship positions tab, correct?
Yep, all of them by February 28th.
Very good. Donna, when I see you're really gung-ho about this, okay, we're going to root for you here. All right.
Thank you.
So, and we're going to root for everybody here too, to apply for one or the other, right? So since you're here, I'm sure you're interested in at least one of the fellowships here. So, and encourage your colleagues and friends, or, you know, your other students to also check them out. So thank you all, Maria, Fred, Bree, thank you so much for being part of this webinar, for sharing. I hope that, you know, I can say on your behalf that, you know, feel free to contact them if people have any more questions. And we will also send out a follow-up email, you know, with their email contacts, as well as these opportunities that I just mentioned, the upcoming ones. So, and with that, I'm going to end this webinar, and thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye. I'll just ask the presenters to stay if you can.
Sure.
Thank you.